And it would also be real nice to end my testimony here and say from this point on, my life was just fine and dandy, didn't have any more problems. But the reality of life is that, Jesus, he began to open my eyes to the scriptures, and I just don't believe that we're saved to ride on the gospel wagon. We're saved to get out and push, because there's very few laborers, so to speak. It's like that old song goes, everybody wants to eat at my table, but nobody wants to work in my fields. So after a good rest and a renewing of my mind, and I was full, and I started going down to the county jail and witnessing to people about Jesus, how he had changed my life and how he could change theirs also. It was very rewarding. There's no greater joy than to see someone else saved. Because Jesus said, I've come that your joy might be full. I also, I began to have deeper and more frequent Bible study. And let me tell you, this was a very radical departure from my previous lifestyle. But Jesus, he had other plans for me besides the jail. There was another field I believe that he wanted me to work in. And it was a field that I had just came from. I really didn't want to go back. So when Halloween rolled around after my conversion, I wasn't enthusiastic, to say the least. The Lord wanted me to warn others about witchcraft and the world of the occult, and what I had experienced and what I had been through, and the dangers that are associated with it. So here's my testimony of what I've seen and heard and lived and been through since my eyes were open. During the Halloween season, when my kids began to bring home witches, ghosts, goblins, and all that stuff that colored in school, as they always had before, I suddenly became angry about it because, it never really bothered me before. All sorts of memories would flash through my mind about how I'd been seduced into the occult world, which was mainly because of Halloween activities. I began to remember all the things that were associated with it. So I began to talk about the deception behind Halloween, but apparently, no one listens, and nobody would listen. But what I couldn't understand was why people become so violent when they get in defense of Halloween. I guess those that think that Satan is not wise maybe should think again. Hiding behind children is a great weapon in spiritual warfare, in any warfare, I guess. Children only understand candy and fun, and they don't understand that evil's behind the mask. But the Bible teaches, about the spiritual nature of spiritual warfare, and that spiritual evil often imitates that which is good and righteous in order to deceive people concerning the truth of what God has revealed in the Bible. Jesus had opened my eyes to the real truth behind Halloween. Somebody has to be lying. Either Halloween is fun and games and witches are nice people, like my neighbor was, and God's a liar, or else God's telling the truth, and thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. It's pretty strong words. Remember when Halloween used to be bobbing for apples and fun parties and things like that, but even this lighter side of this kindergarten of the occult is eerie when you consider for a moment, if you look behind the curtains, so to speak, that the FBI Academy in Virginia, which is the National Institute for the Study of Violent Crimes, has published a document that estimates 40,000 people are ritualistically murdered in satanic covens all over the world in 1 year's time. And I have this in documentation. I've read it. But on this night, those witches and those satanic covens all over the world, the same night that kids are trick-or-treating, getting candy, they are cursing God, they're blaspheming Jesus, they're eating raw human flesh, they're performing all kinds of twisted, perverted, unholy acts, from urinating on crosses to having black masses. And believe me, a black mass is an extreme abomination. It's sickening. It'll turn your stomach upside down. Just go to the library and read about it. I can guarantee you that you will not want your children celebrating the same night that all these activities are going on. It's not just Hollywood, it's the real thing. But beyond any stretch of the imagination, this night is a celebration of darkness. So it seemed like the more I tried to educate people about what was taking place, the more I began to seem like a nut. Anyway, when my kids brought these witches and things and posters home, I decided to go have a talk with the teachers. While I was walking the halls of the elementary school, I took time to read some of the children's response to Halloween that a teacher had put on the bulletin board. One child says, "It makes me happy inside when I see spiders crawling across the floor. And I want to be just like Frankenstein when I grow up." And a big shocker was, "I want to go Set's house." What would a third grader know about Set? What grown-up, really, but in the world of demonology, Set is a high-ranking demon, kind of a general, if you will. So, my daughter would come home and ask me, "Do you want to see Bloody Mary?" I said, "Who?" She said, "Bloody Mary. All you have to do is turn around 3 times in the dark, call out her name, and she will appear to you. She'll have a baby in her arms, and if you want her to, she will stab it." Well, I was dumbfounded, to say the least. And I know that these seasonal activities, they can open doors to the spiritual world that can and will result in emotional and spiritual turmoil for children. I know it did for me. It was years of anguish and needless suffering for nothing.